Well, I mean, this was a surprise to all, actually. Nobody expected such a move towards the second largest city of Syria. And Turkey kept quiet in the beginning. And they said, we want stability, we want territorial integrity of Syria, and we don't want to be involved in what's happening. But clearly, Turkish strategic brain was behind what happened there, taking advantage of the Iran's weakening position, Hezbollah being seriously weakened, and Iran almost Israel made Iranian air defense collapse, and Russia is very busy in Ukraine. There was a strategic opportunity there, a gap to be filled. But I don't think that
for Turkey or for Israel. I mean, Israel has been bombing Iranian positions in Syria non-stop for the last 2 or 3 months. It hasn't been getting a lot of coverage because of the slaughter in Gaza and Lebanon, but they've been very active in destroying Iranian infrastructure in Syria.
This is what they did. What I'm trying to say that there was a strategic brain behind that, very smart one, in Ankara, but it wasn't alone, Ankara, because without U.S. Endorsement, without Israeli collaboration, I don't think it could have happened. And the story is that it's not been confirmed yet, but the Mossad head was in Ankara just a day before the attack from Israel. And it has been, in my opinion, coordinated between the three. And Russia also didn't show a big reaction, although it seemed as if they were unheard of what was going to happen. They immediately,
potentially a big horse trading game going on here. We'll give you what you want in Ukraine. You back off from Syria, break the Iranian axis across the region. I mean, is that kind of the horse trading?
Definitely, there is a plot somehow organized between Blinken, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, supposed to be president perhaps after Erdogan, and he's very powerful in Ankara right now, with the Israelis and also Russians, because Russia has a vital interest there. It has their naval air bases protecting Assad. And also it comes 3 months after Erdogan proposed Assad to normalize relations, which Assad pushed aside. He didn't want to accept this before Turkish forces are withdrawn from Syria. So there's a very critical security element there for Turkey, because Turkey doesn't want the Syrian Kurds to establish their own autonomous regions, as US is pushing for and Israel pushing for. So there was a deal made, in my opinion, between Ankara, Tel Aviv, Washington, D.C., taking advantage of the position of Iran and Russia right now, plus Trump is coming on 20th of January, and his policy has been, in the past, withdrawal from Syria, and he was stopped last minute by CENTCOM commander there. Therefore, there is a very critical juncture in terms of geopolitical alignment and disalignments, and Israel has a long-term policy, we know all that, after October last year, pushing to Hamas and Hezbollah, then weakening Iran's position in any ways. And Netanyahu said, wait, what's going to happen? I think it was last week, what's going to happen in Syria? And this is happening now. And because Turkey probably joined that without any other option, because it was already more or less decided, either you will be there or you will be out. So Turkey joined the scenario, in my opinion. So whatever we hear now from different capitals, from Beijing, they just announced sweeping sanctions against exporting critical minerals to the United States in preparation for what Trump is threatening to do with the BRICS nations. He said clearly, if we have a BRICS currency or a trade bloc against U.S. interests, we'll have 100% tariffs on all the countries trying to do this. And similar threats will come. Therefore, also, you remember the Trump policy in his first term. global energy dominance. This is how he termed it. And Trump is going to be very, very active, no matter what the prices will be, of course. I agree with our colleague, but it's going to be still the policy and regulation might drive some of the US companies to increase production. He's going to push further increase in production of fossil fuels. He's going to cut back on Inflation Clean Reduction Act, which is providing subsidies and incentives to renewable production in the US. And he might do what he did with the climate change agreement, Paris Agreement, pulling out. Whether he's going to do this or not, we don't know yet. But so there is going to be an effort to cut back efforts towards, reduce efforts towards renewables and climate change efforts, and pushing for fossil fuel production up. It's already the number one in the world in terms of crude production, as you know, US. And so this is going to have dramatic implications in the market. We also mentioned Brazil, Guyana, and other non-OPEC countries are pushing for production.
Do you think in regards to that, I mean, those multiple dimensions, can OPEC have the bandwidth, the OPEC Plus, to think about all of those things, or do they simply need to manage the short-term outlook, 3 months? I mean, they did 2 months postponement of the unraveling of the cuts. Then they did 1 month. Now they're meeting again. I mean, these are incremental micromanagement of the immediate future as compared to the big issues, the big trends. Your expectation on this occasion, will they continue to just manage what's right in front of them rather than the big ideas?
Well, of course, their priority is to manage the short term right now. But I'm sure during the meeting between Mohammed bin Salman and the UAE leaders during his private visit, and they discussed this issue as well. And Russia and Saudi Arabia are countries where they always think in terms of chess game as well, ahead of the time. And how they are going to reflect this to their fellow OPEC members is another issue. But clearly, long-term thinking is very, very important for OPEC, rather than focusing on the first quarter, second quarter cuts, whether they are going to be extended another 3 months. So if they see the big story coming, it's very clear to me how the big story is coming. And therefore, they have to take position. And they may not be able to influence the markets as they did in the past, unless there's a hard rock solidarity and unity among OPEC plus countries. Otherwise, US is going to be playing a more prominent role alongside other non-OPEC countries. Well, I think the parties involved in this wars, before they reach their goals, of course, they are not going to give up easily just because of Trump wanting it. And however, Trump's team, transitional team, already started talking to Russians with Israelis, Turks. So there is a global mind, if I may say so, trying to resolve the things in such a way that it will satisfy all parties. But what will happen in Russia-Ukraine war, in my opinion, probably ending in the next 3 to 6 months. And because both Russia, Ukraine also want it has torn out these countries, is probably they are going to freeze the problem. So it's going to give away something on Crimea to Russia, although not recognizing officially the annexation, but a temporary solution like we had in Cyprus, perhaps, putting it on the shelf for a while and without bloodshed continuing. And it's going to be a problem between Ukraine and Russia, negotiating, discussing over the next decade, perhaps, but putting on hold on it so that things could start again. I expect this to happen in Ukraine. And in Middle East, it's quite difficult because there are so many parties involved in it. And it's clearly Israel and US driving it. And until they reach the goals, including on Iran, I don't think it's going to stop there. So we have to find one way or another to bring Iran to the table. And at what expense to Iran, whether it's going to be win-win or lose-win, and it has to be seen.